welcome to the analysis of the Hindu newspaper dated January 28th, 2023. In this video, we are going to talk about two important newspaper articles which are going to be very important, very significant for the civil services examination. So let's start with this video with the first important newspaper article. Now the first newspaper article deals with the Indus Water Treaty, and India now has sent notice to Pakistan to amend 1960 Indus Pact or Indus Water Treaty. Now these kinds of articles are important for the GS paper 2, that is the agreements involving India and or affecting India's interest. Let's first understand the context of it and then we will analyze this particular newspaper article in detail. So this particular newspaper article talks about the fact that India announced on Friday that it wants to modify the 62-year-old Indus Water Treaty with Pakistan, citing what it calls Pakistan's intransigence, right? Or overreach in resolving the disputes, its negligence over resolving the disputes. Now the disputes are regarding the Kishan Ganga hydropower projects and the Rattle hydropower projects, and both of these projects are in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Now the Kishan Ganga hydro water project is basically built on the Kishan Ganga river, and the Rattle hydropower projects is basically built on the Chenab river. We are going to talk about the Kishan Ganga river and the Chenab river as well, and about these projects as well. But before that, we need to understand the issue regarding it. So India has also protested Pakistan's unilateral decision to approach a court of arbitration at The Hague. And apart from it, the sources says that the government had written to Pakistan on January 25, calling for the modifications to the treaty on Article 13.3 of the Indus Water Treaty that deals with the final provisions of the treaty. Now this particular written letter or some kind of written information was sent to the Pakistan, but this particular court case is going on in the permanent court of arbitrage at this particular point of time, and the sources says that Pakistan's move to push the World Bank for a court of arbitration ran counter to the pre-existing channel of the dispute resolution through a neutral expert appointed by the World Bank, right? So now what is basically Indus Water Treaty? So Indus Water Treaty is basically a treaty between the country of India and Pakistan. It was basically signed on 1960, and it states that the three rivers Ravi, Satluj and Beas belongs to India, or the eastern rivers belong to India, and the rivers Indus, Jhelum and Chenab were allocated to the Pakistan. Now Ravi, Satluj and Beas are the rivers which basically belong to India, and this provides them use of the waters of these particular rivers, and the rivers Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, their waters can be used for non-consumptive and agricultural use. The waters of these particular rivers, that is in the Jhelum and Chenab, can be used by the Pakistan, and India can use the waters of this particular rivers for domestic and non-consumptive and agricultural use. And India has also been given the right to generate hydroelectricity through run-off river projects on the western rivers, and basically the two hydropower projects, which are basically the Kishan Ganga hydropower project and the Rattle hydropower projects, these are run on these are run of the river projects. What are run of the river projects? That you can build the hydropower projects in the run of the river, that is with the flow of the river, whatever the current will be generated, that only you can produce. You cannot build a gravity dam, you can build a run of the river project, right? And if you are going to solve the dispute regarding this particular thing, or if any of the parties find that the other party is violating the Indus Water Treaty, they can approach in three ways. And this is basically said by the Article 9th of the treaty, which deals with the settlement of differences and disputes. And there are three possible ways of doing it. First one is that you will work with the permanent Indus Commission of the Indian and the Pakistan delegation of water experts, and they will meet regularly, and this will lead to the dispute resolution. And the second one is that if you're not satisfied with the functioning of the other state, then you can consult a World Bank appointed neutral expert, and then also if you are not satisfied, then you can basically approach the permanent court of arbitrage, right? So now India says that, or India has held that each step must be fully exhausted before the both sides agree to the moving on this next step. And this is basically a very sane statement, right? If it doesn't if the dispute doesn't get solved in the permanent Indus commission, then you can approach the World Bank. If that dispute is not even resolved by the World Bank or the neutral expert, then you can go to the PCA. Now the Pakistan basically has moved on without waiting for the India's concurrence, and it has moved to the permanent court of arbitrage. And this is the basic problem. This is the issue of contention between India and Pakistan right now. All right. So now that we have talked about the Indus Water Treaty, let's also talk about the Indus Water or the Indus River system. So Indus River system basically comprises of Indus and its 5 tributaries. Now the 5 tributaries are Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, and Satluj, right? So these are the 5 tributaries of the Indus River. They basically tribute their water to the Indus River in Pakistan. And where do they meet? They meet in the Mithankot area of Pakistan, right? So let's now talk about the Indus River. Indus River is basically very historically important for us, and India got her name from the Indus River, and the Indus Valley civilization was born around this particular river. And you would have studied the Indus Valley civilization in the history textbooks, and that is the importance of the Indus River, because all around the Indus River, the Indus Valley civilization prospered. And if we talk about the course of this particular river, then it originates in the Mansarovar in China, and it basically flows till the Nanga Parvat in India, and its length is about 2,900 kilometers. And if we talk about the tributaries of it, or the tributaries which tribute their water in the Indian subcontinent, in India, then it is joined by Dhar River near Indo-China border. Then it is, after entering Jammu and Kashmir, it flows between the Ladakh and the Janskar ranges, and it flows through the regions of the Ladakh, Baltistan, and Gilgit, and it is joined by the Janskar River at Leh, and near Skardu it is joined by the Shiok at an elevation of 2,700 meters. And Gilgit, Gartang, Dras, Shigar, Hunza are other very less known but very important tributaries of the Indus. So this is basically the Indus River system in India. Now it is also met by the rivers or the Panjanad, which are basically the Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, and Satluj in Mithankot, right? And if you see this particular map, it will basically explain you how the river system of the Indus happens. Indus, right? So this is where the Panjanad or the 5 rivers, that is the Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, Satluj, meet in Mithankot, Pakistan, and it basically flows to the Arabian Sea. So this is the river system of the Indus. Let's now talk about the 2 projects which are the issue of the contention between India and Pakistan. So first one is the Kishanganga hydroelectric project. It is basically located 5 km north of the Bandipur in Jammu and Kashmir, and it is a run of the river project. What is a run of the river project? Run of the river hydroelectric projects are the hydroelectric systems that harvest the energy from flowing water to generate electricity. You basically do not capture the water in the dam, and you do not use the means of the gravity in order to generate the electricity. What you basically do is that you build basically a small dam, and this particular water then reaches the powerhouse through a run of the, or it's through its own force, because in the Himalayas basically the water speed is so high that it is able to generate that kind of power in order to fuel the electricity, right? So the primary difference between this type of hydroelectric generation compared to the others is that run of the river primarily uses the natural flow of water to generate power instead of the power of the water falling from the height. So this run of the river project or the Kishanganga hydroelectric projects includes a 37-meter tall concrete face rock filled dam, which is basically shown in this particular figure. Now this is the dam. It diverts some of the water towards this Cape tunnel, and this particular Cape tunnel then powers the turbines. It moves the turbines, and this basically produces the electricity. Now this particular water is then released to the Wooler Lake, and the Wooler Lake then results in this particular water getting transferred into the Jhelum river. So you are basically not storing any kind of water. I don't know why Pakistan has such a problem with it. We just have diverted this Kishanganga water to the Jhelum water, but at the end of the day it's being transferred to the Jhelum water because Kishanganga river also meets the Jhelum, right, in the lower parts. So now this particular project has an installed capacity of 330 megawatt. And if we talk about the construction of it, then the construction on the project began in 2007, and Pakistan objected to the project, arguing that it will affect the flow of Kishanganga river. Now the Kishanganga river is also known as Neelam river in the Pakistan. This is also you need to keep in mind. Now in February 2013, the Hague's Permanent Court of Arbitration ruled that India could divert all the water, leaving a minimum amount of water to the downstream of the dam on the Kishanganga river for the purpose of environmental flows. This particular region where the Kishanganga flows, there is not a lot of habitation, and that is why the Permanent Court of Arbitration said that you can basically divert this particular water, and this particular water in the downstream it flows to the Jhelum, so it makes a sense, right? So in 2018 March, all the three units, that is 3 into 110 megawatt, were commissioned and synchronized with the electricity grid. So this is the basic timeline of the Kishanganga hydroelectric projects. Let's now talk about the river in which it is located, or the main river in which this particular project is located, right? Now Kishanganga is basically the tributary of the Jhelum river. Now Jhelum river originates basically in Verinag in the southeastern part of the Kashmir Valley, and it flows northward into the Wooler Lake, and then through the Wooler Lake it basically goes downstream where it meets the Kishanganga river as well. And at Baramulla, the river enters a gorge in the hills. The river forms a steep-sided narrow gorge through the Pir Panjal range below Baramulla, and at Muzaffarabad the river takes a sharp pin bend southwards. Thereafter, it forms the India-Pakistan border for basically 170 kilometers, and it emerges at the Potwar plateau near Mirpur. And after flowing through the spurs of the Salt Lake, it debouches or emerges through a confined space into a wide open area on the plains near the city of Jhelum, and it also then joins the Chenab at Trimu, right? So this is the river system of the Jhelum. Now let's talk about another project. We have talked about the Kishanganga project. Let's now talk about the Rattle hydroelectric projects. Now this particular hydroelectric project is also run of the river project, that is it produces electricity by the natural flow of water, not via the gravity dam. It is basically located in the Chenab River and the Kishtwar district of the Indian Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Is basically where this particular project is located. Now let's talk about the features of this particular hydroelectric project. Basically, a 133-meter tall gravity dam has been constructed in the Chenab River in order to fuel the water for the electricity generation, and two power projects adjacent to the one another have been constructed, and the installed capacity of both the power stations is 850 megawatt. Now this particular project also landed into some kind of controversies. In June 2013, the then Prime Minister laid the foundation stone for the dam, and Pakistan has frequently alleged that it violates the Indus Water Treaty 1960. This particular hydroelectric project was also in news when some of the money was sanctioned in 2021 by our government, right? So now this particular river project is basically located on the Chenab River. So let's talk about the Chenab River. Now Chenab River's source is basically the Upper Himalayas in the Lahaul and Spiti district of Himachal Pradesh state. So it originates in the Himachal Pradesh in the Lahaul and the Spiti districts. Now the river is formed by the confluence of two rivers, that is Chandra and Bhag, at Tandi, 8 kilometers southwest of the Keelong in Lahaul and Spiti district. Now travelers would know this particular name, that is the Keelong monastery, right? So now this particular river, that is Chenab, consists of two rivers, right? Basically these two rivers contribute into forming what is known as Chenab River. Now the Bhag River originates from the Suryatal Lake, which is situated a few kilometers west of the Barachla Pass in the Himachal Pradesh, and the Chandra River originates from the glaciers east of the same pass near the Chandratal. Now Chandratal is also a basic tourist destination, a favorite of the adventure travelers, they would know it, right? So around that particular area the Chandra River originates. Now these Bhag River and the Chandra River contribute to what is known as Chenab River in the Keelong, right? So now this particular river flows through the Jammu region of the Jammu and Kashmir into the plains of Punjab, Pakistan, before flowing into the Indus River. And some of the important projects and dams on this particular river are the Rattle hydroelectric project. We have already discussed it. Apart from it, we have the Salal Dam, which is hydropower project near Riasi, and we also have the Dulhasti hydroelectric power plant. And this particular power project is in the Kishtwar district. And we also have the Pakal Dul Dam, which is under construction, and it is basically on the tributary which is known as Maru Sadar River in the Kishtwar district. So these are the hydropower projects which are basically on the Chenab River. These all are the run on the river projects, right? So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article. Now the way forward regarding it. So what can be the way forward? So both the parties, that is India and Pakistan, must adhere to the principles laid down in the Indus Water Treaty, and Pakistan basically needs to stop their creeping about it, and they need to solve the issues by the discussion, by not going to the court, which the route they have followed at this particular point of time. So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article. Let's now head to the next important newspaper article. Now this particular newspaper article is very significant because it has caused a lot of turmoil in what is known as the share market or the capital market. Now basically the SEBI has said that it will raise the scrutiny of the Adani Group transactions. Now the Adani Group has landed into some kinds of issues regarding the financial irregularities. Basically the Hindenburg report has been presented, or this particular research report has been presented, which has talked about the financial irregularities going on in this particular company, and this has basically led to a lot of turmoil, lot of shareholders losing their own money because the shares of the Adani Group have been tumbling down, right? So now this particular newspaper article is very important for us because it covers the GS paper 2, that is statutory, regulatory and quasi judicial bodies. We are not going to talk about the details of the Hindenburg projects or any of it. This is not very important for us. What is important for us is to understand the regulatory body which is known as the SEBI. Now SEBI, or Securities Exchange Board of India, is a statutory body established on April 12, 1992 in accordance with the provisions of the Securities and Exchange Board Act of Board of India Act 1992, and the basic functions of the Securities and Exchange Board of India, or SEBI, is to protect the interest of the investors in the securities and promote and regulate the securities market. This all happened after the Harshad Mehta scam, right? Before that there was no regulation or very less regulation, but SEBI brought about a lot of regulation. It brought about a lot of formalization in this capital market. Now, how did SEBI come into existence? Before SEBI came into existence, there was what is known as Controller of Capital Issues, was or the Controller of Capital Issues was done basically by the Capital Issues Control Act of 1947, and in April 1988, the SEBI was constituted as the regulator of the capital markets in India under resolution of the Government of India. And initially, SEBI was a non-statutory body without any statutory power. It was not formed on the basis of an act. That is why it was a non-statutory body at that particular point of time. But with the coming up of the SEBI Act of 1992, it gave it the statutory powers, or the powers according to the act, that is the SEBI Act. Now, the headquarters of the SEBI are located in Mumbai, and the regional offices of the SEBI are located in Ahmedabad, Kolkata, Chennai, and Delhi. And if we talk about the structure of the SEBI, then it has a chairman, and there are several other whole-time and the part-time members, and SEBI also appoints various committees whenever required to look into pressing issues at that time. And further, a securities appellate tribunal has been constituted to protect the interest of the entities that feel aggrieved by the SEBI's decision. If there is any kind of irregularity, if there is any kind of insider trading, or any kind of problem that may lead to shareholders losing their money, then anybody can approach the Securities Appellate Tribunal. Now, the Securities Appellate Tribunal consists of presiding officers and 2 other members, and it has the same powers as vested in the Civil Code. Further, if any person feels aggrieved by the SAT's decision, if they are not satisfied with the SAT's decision or the Securities Appellate Tribunal's decision or the orders, then they can appeal to the Supreme Court. Now, let's talk about the powers and the functions of the SEBI. Now, SEBI is a quasi-legislative and quasi-judicial body which can draft regulations, conduct inquiries, pass rulings, and impose penalties, and it functions to fulfill the 3 requirements of 3 categories. First one is, it ensures that the issuers can increase their finance. The second are the investors can basically be supplied with the accurate information. Then there are 8 intermediaries, and this particular body, that is the SEBI, helps in enabling a competitive professional market for the intermediaries. So the rights of all of these entities is being ensured, right? Now, by SEBI Securities Laws Amendment Act of 2040, SEBI is now able to regulate any money pooling scheme worth rupees 100 crore or more and attach assets in case of non-compliance, and the SEBI chairman has the authority to order search and seizure operations. SEBI board can also seek information such as telephone call data records from any person. So basically, it has a lot of powers in the regulation of the market, right? It wants that all the money of the shareholders is being saved, and at the same time it ensures that the companies make money out of it. Everybody is happy. This is what is being taken care of by the SEBI. Now, let's talk about what can be done to ensure now there are some of the issues associated with it, because every body has its own issues. Now, in a recent years, SEBI role became more complex, and the capital market regulators is at the crossroads. There is an excessive focus on regulation of the market conduct and lesser emphasis on the prudential regulations, or the regulations are not sometimes being followed. This is the basic issue associated with the SEBI, and apart from it, what can we do to ensure it? So there must be an attitudinal change, and apart from it, all the regularities in the finances must be done, and foremost objective of the SEBI should be cleaning up the policy space in the area of the market. And apart from it, SEBI must give attention to the human resources and matters within the organization, and it also must attract a basic talent pool, or the best talent pool in the country, in order to ensure that it is up to date with all kind of irregularities. And in case there are irregularities, it may come forward with some of the rules or penalize all of the wrongdoers. So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article. Thank you from my side. Do like and share the video and subscribe to this channel. Have a good day. Bye.